The Dog, the Goose, and the Corn. There was once a farmer whose part of his route to town used a rickety old boat to cross a wide river. One day he took his dog and went to town just to buy corn. However, in addition to buying the corn, he bought a goose that he intended to take home and use to start raising geese. This farmer was no fool. He already had another goose. But he also knew that his boat was not reliable. It could handle only himself and one of the other 3 things he had with him. He feared that if left alone, the dog would eat the goose or the goose would eat the corn. How could he get himself and everything else across the river safely? Well, there's a few things we must keep in mind before solving this problem, and that is there's always a goose on the farm. He has a goose already there, as he stated, and the goose and the dog cannot be together, and the goose and the corn cannot be together in fear of one or the other being eaten. However, I did make a few assumptions before solving this problem, which is 1, everything must ride in the boat, like the goose or the dog cannot swim, because I was thinking through it, and that was like, well, what if the dog swam behind him and he had the corn and went back to go get the goose, leaving the 2 at home, and that just opened up a myriad of possibilities. That is just assuming too much. Like, we don't know anything about these animals other than what the problem gave us. And another assumption I made, which could quite possibly be very wrong, but the goose already at the farm does not determine the outcome. Like, the dog won't eat the goose that is already at home. I tried manipulating the problem several ways where neither the geese would be alone with the corn or the dog, but I just couldn't do it, and I figured that was something they would tell us because it would just seem very unlikely that this farmer takes the dog absolutely everywhere or he never has food at home. Anyway, the next clip is of me solving the problem. Sorry ahead of time for the bad quality. I was going to do it on PowerPoint, but I really wanted you to be able to see my physical manipulatives that I cut out because they really did help me to gauge what I was doing and see how to solve the problem in a much clearer way that seems to mimic something you would do in a face-to-face math class. Hi, Mr. Salshin. So I'm going to be solving this problem using these manipulatives. They're just paper cutouts of the drawing I already had. I thought this is the best way to solve the problem because it's very visual and it helped me to see what could be left together and what couldn't. So first, the farmer in his boat would take the goose home. So that's just him and his one item sailing across the river to leave the goose at home. Then he would sail back all by himself with nothing in his boat and pick up the dog. And then he would take the dog back. However, as the problem stated, he's afraid that the dog might eat the goose, so in turn, he has to take the goose back with him. So they'll sail back just like this. Then he'll leave the goose in town, pick up the corn, take the corn back with him to his home, and they'll leave that there because the dog and the corn, they can stay together. There's nothing that specifies that the dog won't eat the corn, so they can stay there. And then the farmer, once again, returns to town empty-handed, picks up his goose, and then sails back. So that gets his dog home safely, the corn home safely, and the goose home safely, and himself without tipping over the boat. Thank you.